Imagine a vast, silent, and somber valley, covered with dry bones scattered in every direction, silent witnesses to something that ceased to exist long ago. The wind blows through them, but there is no life, only profound desolation. Now, picture yourself in the place of the prophet Ezekiel. The Spirit of God leads you into this eerie scene, this valley of dry bones. What would you feel, standing in the midst of such overwhelming desolation? There is total silence, no sign of life. What would these bones represent to you? For Ezekiel, each of those bones told the story of a people who had lost everything, a people, like these bones, who were broken, hopeless, and without life. Israel had been devastated, exiled, abandoned. The temple, the most sacred symbol of their faith, lay in ruins, and the promised land had become a distant dream. This vision that Ezekiel witnessed was not just physical, it carried deep spiritual weight, reflecting the soul of a nation in ruins. But why had God brought him there? What did he want Ezekiel to see and understand? Could something so lifeless ever live again? Was there hope in this dark and forgotten valley? This is the moment where we might ask ourselves, if we were standing there in that valley, how many times in our own lives have we felt surrounded by dry bones, without hope, without a way out? Ezekiel was exiled, far from his homeland, living in a foreign and oppressive land. Babylon wasn't just a military defeat that led them there, it was total devastation. The people of Israel, who had walked under God's promises for generations, now found themselves in utter despair. The temple, the sacred center of worship where God's presence once dwelt, had been destroyed. Its once majestic walls were now rubble, a visible symbol of something precious that had been lost. Families who used to gather for sacred feasts, celebrating together the traditions and blessings passed down from their ancestors, were now broken, separated, exiled. Wives without husbands, children without fathers, communities that were once full of life now scattered, oppressed under a foreign regime. Imagine the silence of an empty house, the echo of laughter and voices that no longer exist. Everything had been taken from them. The promised land, the soil that God had sworn to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the place where they were to flourish and prosper, was now under the control of foreigners. Every inch of that land, once a symbol of heritage and blessing, had become a bitter reminder of defeat. The despair wasn't just physical, the soul of the people of Israel was shattered. They felt utterly abandoned. Where was God? Those who had always trusted in his promises now wondered, has God forgotten us? The feeling was one of emptiness, of spiritual failure. The nation that was meant to be a light to others was now shrouded in darkness. God's silence seemed final, they cried out, but no answer came. And in the heart of that despair, a question grew, was there still redemption? Could God even want to restore them? Ezekiel felt this pain deeply. As a prophet, he carried the weight of the people's sorrow. Every desperate face, every tear shed by those who had lost everything, was a reflection of their state. The valley of dry bones, this terrifying and symbolic vision that God had shown him, was a mirror of reality. These weren't just bones, they were the spiritual and emotional state of a nation that felt it had lost its connection with its Creator. But amidst all this despair, one question lingered: was this the end? In the midst of that dark valley, surrounded by dry bones scattered everywhere, a question echoed. God spoke to Ezekiel, not with an explanation, but with a provocation: can these bones live? The question seemed absurd. After all, according to human logic, dry bones cannot live again. There is no flesh, no blood, no life, they are the remnants of something long dead. But Ezekiel, wise in his faith, did not try to answer based on his own limited understanding. He didn't look at that desolate scene with the eyes of reason. Instead, he responded with humility and deep reverence: "Sovereign Lord, only you know." It's a response that reveals more than simple obedience. It is a demonstration of absolute trust in God's power. Ezekiel recognized that even when everything seems impossible, in God's hands, life can still emerge. And then something extraordinary happens. God commands Ezekiel to prophesy, to speak to the dry bones. To speak to what cannot hear seems absurd, but Ezekiel, once again, does not question. He opens his mouth and begins to prophesy, declaring the words God gave him. And as the words of life are spoken, the impossible begins to unfold before his eyes. Suddenly, there is a sound, a rattling noise throughout the valley. The bones begin to move, coming together to form entire skeletons. What was once a pile of scattered bones starts to take shape, each bone finding its exact place, as if drawn by an invisible, irresistible force. But it doesn't stop there. Muscles and tendons begin to grow over the bones. Skin covers these newly formed bodies. What was once a scene of death and despair is now transforming into something full of potential, on the verge of being reborn. Ezekiel watches this miracle unfold before his very eyes. What seemed irreversibly lost is being restored. These bodies, now fully formed, are a clear symbol: God is not finished. He has not abandoned his people. These bones, representing the nation of Israel, are being restored, not just in flesh and bone but in hope. The people who felt so far from God are on the brink of new life, a new chance. God is showing Ezekiel, and us, that no matter how desperate the situation, no matter how far we feel from the life we once knew, He can restore. He can bring life to what seemed completely dead. The story of Ezekiel and the Valley of Dry Bones holds a powerful message for us today. It is more than just a vision of the past, it is a profound metaphor for our own lives. All of us, at some point, face our own valleys of dry bones, situations where we feel defeated, hopeless, where everything seems lost. But in those moments, God's question echoes: can these bones live? That question challenges logic, reason, and even our past experiences. It invites us to look beyond what our eyes see and to have faith in the impossible. What if God could restore what seemed destroyed? What if He could bring life where there was only death? Often, the most desperate areas of our lives are the very places where God desires to work. But the real